Welcome back to the grim darkness of the 41st Millennium. I am Inquisitor Caveat Ventus, keeper of the Inquisition's Black Library, and this is my report on the Valentyne Heresy, an actual play podcast set in the Genesys adaptation of Warhammer 40,000's Dark Heresy RPG. This report features Game Master Tom McGee, Ryan LaPlante as Inquisitor Lucius Valentyne, Laura Elizabeth as Lyric, and Tyler Hewitt as Alto. My report shows that the Inquisitorial Band engaged the Gnashers in physical combat and emerged victorious. Lyric was injured in the opening of the battle. Valentyne cowed their foes with violence in the name of the Inquisition, and Alto led the band into the Astral Line. What exactly is this fabled mode of transportation? Find out next in this episode of the Valentyne Heresy.
A report on the sinking of the mighty Gothic ship, the Fist of Gilead, by Grendon Mal. I hope that the Vox volume is okay on this. If not, please inform my superiors, and I'm sure they will supply me with more proper gear. In any case, regarding the recent loss of the ship, the Fist of Gilead, it would seem that the effects of the Great Rift across the galaxy are perhaps more far-reaching than early astropathic reports suggested. It would seem that the warp storm that was identified in the sector around the Vermeer system was in fact yet another seemingly aftershock of the Great Rift itself. And unfortunately, our ship was caught in one of these smaller tears, as it were. It is a miracle that any hands aboard survived, and I suppose we have the Emperor's good graces to thank for the survival of our esteemed Inquisitor Valentyne. However, it is worth noting that if these rifts are going to continue to open and have the damning effects that this did on both Gilead and the planet below, we should adjust our astropathic maps appropriately. For the power to rip apart one of our ships with that velocity and to twist the inhabitants is truly breathtaking, and an uncontrolled form of chaos we have rarely seen. In summary, for the two of you who listen to this before, I'm sure it gets black boxed somewhere deep within our records, it is my strong recommendation that Inquisitor Valentyne is given a proper examination as soon as possible for possible marks of chaos or effects of the warp. Very few people have survived a warp storm of that magnitude and not come out the other side changed. That would be my recommendation, though that is obviously much above my pay grade, and I trust that our masters in the Inquisition will know what to do. In any event, it is best that we write this down as a malfunction and let the Adeptus Mechanum spin the story the way they choose to. For if any of our fleets, or Emperor forbid, the rogue traders, were to find out that random warp rifts were opening and destroying ships of the size and caliber of the Gilead's Fist, we would be well and truly boned. This concludes my report. You may find the details in the attached files. Emperor be praised. So the three of you are in the Astral Line's launch site for Galen's Glory, and you've made your way kind of up to the massive golden doors and stepped through them into the ship itself.
Okay.
The ship is kind of a very classic shuttle design in terms of like kind of the long body, massive kind of rockets at the base, and it certainly still has the Gothic accoutrements that are on most ships of the Imperium, but this one's a little bit more streamlined. You can tell that any Gothic embellishments have been added after the fact, largely to keep anyone who's seen the Gothic fleet comfortable. It makes us feel nice that we can see these things even if they don't actually have any function. A little bit like the save icon on our computers for those of us who remember floppy disks. So in the entry hallway, there's clearly meant to be some kind of greeter here, but obviously there is not. But as you step in, there's an electric hum that begins as soon as the doors close. And Valentyne, with your enhanced optics, you can see a sort of a laser pattern scanner scanning the three of you. Once it does, the entire ship begins to hum, and the lights begin to click on. They flutter a little bit, and then the entire cabin that you're in is bathed in kind of a calming blue light. And you given the kind of touristy nature, you can tell this is kind of almost a sorting zone. And then there seem to be ladders on either side that lead up to kind of the crew berths. This is one of those vehicles that will likely enter into. You're basically like where you're standing right now is essentially on the wall. Once it is up in space, it will flatten out, and the walls around you will become the floor and the ceiling. But right now, you're kind of in pre-launch mode. Because there would normally be a greeter, there aren't any instructions. There are some diagrams, but it's a little bit like trying to figure out what the emergency chemical spill procedure is in a place that you've just kind of walked into. But also, Valentyne, Eugene is now sort of patched in to the ship and the ship's network. And I guess I should ask you this rather than just prescribing it. Would you be looking for any kind of Imperial coded transmission from the Imperium to find out when these destroyers are coming, or would you?
Oh yeah, I mean, if I'm patched in now, I want to know everything. Like, I would want to know if there's anything here that's on its way to the threat. Can I get schematics of this system? And I wouldn't say this one out loud, but can I get any kind of background info on Lyric and Alto? Because I don't know them.
Yeah. So the ship is cut off from the networks of Galen's Glory. You're patched into the ship itself, so you're getting diagnostics from it. That said, its radio transmissions are picking up. There's a transmission seemingly coming in across subspace channels, just saying like, citizens, this is the Imperial Navy. We have good news. Everything is going to be fine. Stay inside your homes, trust in the Emperor, and understand that he will deliver you exactly what you deserve. For the Emperor, please return to your homes. This will
Right.
be over soon.
So I'll hang up on that and be like, all right, friend. So based on the needless telling people to stay home, my guess would be we might have about 20 minutes before everything goes fucking great. From what I've learned, excellent, and bad for other people, but hopefully not us. So normally I would care a great deal about your injured leg. However, we need to find the way to make the shuttle fly, or we all die here. So...
Oh, you think that maybe our lives are more important than my leg?
You do a very interesting thing where you push for things to be faster, but you interrupt just to be rude. Fascinating. I like it. What a fun thing people do. Alto, can you plug into anything and perhaps help us find the way to fly this thing? Because I don't fly. Based on temperament, I doubt Lyric works with technology, which means I'm guessing you do. Do you fly?
No, because Alto flies.
Perfect. So my assumptions were correct.
Alto has never seen anyone talk to Lyric like that, and he is just stunned, just like, okay, and just like goes to a terminal.
All right. Tyler, can you roll me a mechanics check, please? So that's intelligence and mechanics.
Mechanics.
Would that be tech use?
Oh, yeah, sorry, I'm looking at the straight Genesys sheet, not the 40K sheet.
Okay.
Because I don't have a printed copy of that. I will fix that sometime. I just need to commit to losing a full ink cartridge, and we'll get there.
Great. So this is basically just for the purpose of starting up the launch sequence?
This is, think like, the way I'm thinking of this is R2-D2 jacking into the ship. Yeah, so it's not even, we're not even at the point of the launch sequence necessarily. It's more so just like, I need to figure out what the systems are. Is there someone who runs this, like all that shit? So yeah, just kind of plugging in and getting a general sense of what's up.
You got to hack into the mainframe.
Yeah.
In that case, I will literally plug in. I'll reach up to the back of my head and pull a small sort of like It's like extremely like spiderweb silky thin cord with like just a jack on the end of it. That's kind of, it slides out of the back of my skull. It's just like the line keeps going as I plug it into the terminal. I'm going to use my I'm going to use my mind impulse unit. It gives me +1 blue.
Yep.
For tech use. Let me just scroll back up here for this other stuff. Intellect. Awesome. Okay.
Yeah, this is very much tech use. I finally found the sheet, guys. You guys have so many skills I didn't know about. It's fascinating.
Okay, so I am ready with my positive dice. Am I looking at any difficulty dice?
Yeah, we're going to say this is only a 2. And I think that's because, given that it is kind of like, for lack of a better term, a tourist vessel, no one's building this to be hack-proof. They're building this so that if, third janitor Clayton needs to plug in, he can be like, I did it. Now we shall fly.
Perfect. Okay. So that is 1 success, 3 advantage.
Okay, great. So once you've plugged in, you are sort of like the how. This is actually an interesting question. How do you see data? Do you think?
I think because Alto is sort of such an, I would say, an unrefined talent in this field. For him, it's like talking to machines.
Perfect. Great.
And maybe that, and this is my inexperience kind of showing, but maybe that lends itself to like the kind of people in this universe that like pray to their machines and stuff like that, or like, So I think it's a lot of the time is like, hi, I'm Alto. What's your name? Like,
that's great. I was going to
carries on a conversation.
I love that.
Right there.
Yeah. But it's all
Depending on
happening
the
in his
level of
head.
machine, in 40K, machines actually have machine spirits and personalities that exist underneath.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Cool.
So you actually hear a voice go like, huh? What? Well, oh, howdy. I'm sorry, you caught me napping here. Is it finally time to leave?
Oh yeah, I would definitely say so.
Well, all right. Shit, you should have just started with that, boy. All right, let's do this. All right. And suddenly all the lights come on. The engine kicks up, and you start to hear a voice, Ryan, come through Eugene. And you just hear this kind of very gregarious voice come through and be like, well, howdy, everybody. I'm very glad you all finally decided to show up. Now, which amongst you is Kel? Is there a Kel in the house? Kel?
No, Kel is dead. But we are her next of kin, for lack of a better word.
All right, I care less about that and a little bit more about the inquisitorial presence on this vehicle. How did you get inside the Astral Line if you are not in any way associated with the Inquisition?
Alto
My
just
name
looks
is-
over.
Yeah.
Inquisitor Lucius Valentyne, and we entered on my authority.
Ah, well, all right then. Should just started with that, boy. This makes life much easier. Welcome aboard the Emperor's Hope. I sincerely hope that all y'all are excited to see some of the many glorious things our galaxy has to share. Because here on the Astral Line, our goal is to share with you... Well, hang on a second. Now, my Lord Valentyne, would you have by any chance called down a planetary purge on this here world?
Well, I was not the one to call it down, but I was aware that there were a collection of demons that had broken through a Geller field and thus doomed the hives. That's why we sort of need to move past, shall we say, the scenic tour and...
Yeah, all right. Again, y'all buried the lead on this. Let's get a move on. I didn't sleep for hundreds of years to get vaporized by a bunch of fucking space people. All right, let's go. And he says, listen, Alto, was it?
Yeah. Hi.
Hi. You seem like a tech-savvy fella. I'm not talking to you through a floating skull, so that immediately makes you my favorite. Tell me, how familiar are you with maps? Are you some kind of map boy by chance?
I've been known to dabble. I've been called a map boy in my time.
Fair enough. Well, let's say you join me up here in the cockpit and see if we can't figure out a way to get the fuck out of Dodge. Dodge is the name of this here launch pad, not an Earth reference from, the olden days. Should
That
clarify
sounds good.
that. Great. Well, come on up.
I'll unplug, and the thing just zips back up into my head.
A green light just shines down one of the ladder shafts.
And I'll climb down.
Great. Says, as for the rest,
come on up.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're going up towards the nose of the ship. And he's like, as for the rest of y'all, having just met you, I would hate to see you splattered against my insides. I would greatly appreciate it if you would strap in. You will find yourselves some very comfortable berths just up one level there. So just climb the ladder, and there's like we're in blue light, so a red light shines down the other ladder. It's like, just climb old red ladder there. It'll take you where you need to go.
So, unfortunate question, new friend. Or, I mean, it could be considered an exciting opportunity. My friend Lyric has a broken leg and thus won't be able to use the ladder. Do you have some sort of elevatrix or other thing that would allow perhaps an easier transport?
Well, my lord, I had that exact conversation back when I was but a recently installed skull. They just said an elevator would be too damn expensive, which, as you know, is a tremendous slap in the face to those requiring mobility needs, and I was rather furious about it, so they shut me off. So I regret to inform you that there is none. There is some rope. Alternatively...
It's fine. And I literally walk over to the stair. I throw the last lock just up into the hole, so it's on the landing, and I just two-hand arm and one leg, just propelling myself up the ladder.
All right, Lyric, go ahead and roll me, please. Do you have athletics on your fancy 40k sheets?
Yes, 100%.
It should be Athletictorum or some such. So go ahead and roll that for me, if you would be so kind.
Sure.
He says, trying to drop the robot accent in his normal speech patterns.
Right. Difficulty 2, or what?
No, I'm going to bump it up to 3 because of your busted leg.
Well, that's nice.
Yeah, you're welcome.
All right. And athletics is 3. Brawn is 3. Okay. 4 successes and 2 threats.
Yeah, okay. So
strong motherfucker.
Yeah, so you begin to climb the ladder, and it's actually going pretty well. Weirdly, I think you always, based on kind of how rough life is in the glory hole, you kind of always assumed you'd lose a limb or several. So I think you've actually it's a little bit like how I got lucky and got my mom's hair rather than my dad's, but I just kind of assumed from childhood I'd be bald by 22. So any day I have hair, I'm like, cool. What a nice day this is. So I feel like you're having the same thing where it's just honestly, it's impressive it took this long. So you're actually doing pretty well until the ship shudders. As the engines begin to fire up, and you lose your grip, and you fall. And for a minute, seriously consider if this is how you die, and if so, that's real stupid. Just gonna punch your way back to life so you can be mad about it. But luckily, Valentyne, you've been kind of waiting for this, so you're there to kind of break her fall. And this isn't a fucking catch the princess falling out of the tower thing. This is very much oh shit, a person is falling. Okay, firefighter grab. But as you do so, Lyric, you kind of crunch into his shoulder, and your hand, knuckles and all, hits the side of his face, and suddenly your vision blurs, and Valentyne, yours does as well. And Valentyne, you find yourself back in the throne room, looking at the golden throne. It's the same image you saw before. But Lyric, This is a whole brand of new weird for you.
This is a what the fuck? Yeah.
And you see a crystal clear vision of 10 figures standing around the golden throne. Much like our dear friend the Inquisitor, you're able to spot the imperial date being 1 year from today. You see, the bulky, and again, like, you haven't seen Space Marines, you haven't seen a lot of these things. You actually don't know what these mean, but you actually have a clear vision of them. Whereas Valentyne has only seen shadows. So between the two of you, you actually now have a pretty decent way to determine this. Again, you're not actually really sure what you're looking at. You don't really know what the Golden Throne is. You don't really actually know that much about the Emperor.
Because it just hasn't mattered to my life.
And also certainly you would, I feel like you would get this far out. You would get like the Emperor in his heyday images. Like, if anything, you wouldn't get like desiccated corpse in a machine. Because again, it's a fringe territory. Like, you're not closely associated with the Imperium. That said, you do see a woman wearing the sigil of the Inquisition, who seems to be very diligently checking things off on sort of a mechanical clipboard of some sort, using an attached gimbaled arm that almost seems to be like almost a skeletal hand, and she's kind of guiding it to mark down things that are occurring. And you look kind of in awe and surprised, but also weirdly with a bit of a sense of certainty and just inevitability at this woman's face. And you see your sisters. You see Cora's face looking down at this clipboard. And then right before you wake up, she looks up at you, and there's something just a little bit off about her eyes. And that's when you see the figure reach up and just slightly readjust the top corner of the forehead that had begun to slip down. And that's when you wake up to alarm claxtons and the sound of jet engines firing up. Valentyne, you've recovered a bit faster because this has happened to you before. You also have like psyker conditioning and like all the things the Inquisition would offer. However, this time, I think realizing that this is going to be a new state of being for you, you're kind of falling into that state of each time you're going to focus on one detail in the hopes that you're slowly able to piece this thing together. But the rumbling of the engines kind of brings you back to yourself. So you start dragging Lyric up the ladder, and as soon as Lyric wakes up, I feel like Lyric's the kind of person who doesn't really sleep. In old Chuck Norris idioms, she waits. Yeah. So you, as soon as you realize what's going on, Valentyne, you suddenly feel like her weight just disappear because suddenly she's climbing with you. And the two of you kind of dig your way up into one of the berths and see kind of crash seats that are very plush and have like cup holders and the whole thing. Meanwhile, up in the cockpit, Alto, you enter kind of a small, very much like a modern aircraft or space shuttle cockpit. And as you enter, there's a whirring of servos and a skull and kind of the top of a like the neck vertebrae and like a rib cage drop down out of the ceiling to greet you as you come in. There's old leathery flesh just stretched across this. The eyes have been replaced by like large red sort of glass chambers, and the mouth has a vox coda in it similar to the one that Eugene has, but the skin around it has been stitched up into a smile. And he just says, Well, howdy, Alto. I'm so glad you were able to join me up here on the flight deck. It's so nice to have some company. Listen, we're all about to get vaporized, so maybe you can just help me do your thing. Oh, I'm sorry, of course. Yeah, this is me. It is a pleasure to make your acquaintance. My name is Acrisius Dordenus. You can call me Acri. And I will be your kind of permanently installed servitor for this fine journey today. I will be the one communing with the machine spirit that inhabits this fine vehicle, and it will be up to me to get you safely to your destination.
I lower my weapon and kind of warily look around and find my place at the helm.
Great. So you lock into the helm. He kind of drops into the seat beside you, but it's all very jerky. You can tell that downstairs is definitely built for public consumption. Up here is not. And says, all right, well, here's the thing. They didn't actually program in the astropathy for me here, so it's kind of going to be up to you to steer this boat, kid. I'll keep everything else running, but the rest is up to you.
So Alto will like wrap his fingers around. What would it be like? Not necessarily like a steering wheel, but like a flight stick or.
Yeah, this thing
like...
is this is a weird beast because it's technology is generally not new in the sort of dark age that we find ourselves in.
Would it be like Star Trek where you just like plot course and like set acceleration?
No, this would definitely be I think probably a combination of jacking in with your cables, likely a flight stick of some sort. But the actual mechanics of it are a mishmash of other tech because you can't really build new stuff. It's more repurposing the plans from older stuff. So it's actually, it's like think less a joystick and more like an old Xbox controller. So that kind of that situation. But yeah, you definitely need to jack in.
Okay. I just put my hands on it first and just like under his breath, Alto's like, fucking awesome. And just takes it out of the jack and jacks in.
All right. Wicked. So from you, sir, I'm going to need I guess a driving check.
Okay. My Mind Impulse unit actually helps with that as well. So that'll be a blue there. And then driving is 4
Agility.
yellows.
Oh my God. What?
I designed my guy to be a driving guy.
Nice.
So that is what I've got there.
All right.
What's the challenge, Tom? Yeah.
We're going to say 2 purple, 1 setback dice for unfamiliar tech. But I'm also going to give you a boost for Acri and his assistance, such as it is.
Okay.
You can think of him a bit like Chewbacca on the Falcon, where it's like he's basically, you're going to plot the course and kind of manage that side of things. He'll deal with all the weird stuff that actual pilots deal with, which are like the boring things like flicking switches and adjusting stuff. This ship isn't capable of like, this is definitely an inter-system ride. This isn't a like you can't use Ryan. I forget what the warp path name is in this, but you can't jump into the warp to get places.
Oh, shit! It's an M. It's like a Mandelver point or something like that. I can figure it out.
You know what I'm talking about.
There's
But
a distance within a system where you can't enter the warp. You're too close to the planets. It screws with like the fact that warp entities are there, human souls. So there's literally a point that you're far enough out you can do it. Otherwise,
it's also like fundamentally this ship just isn't built for that. It's built for inter-system transport, not for warp. They don't have that kind of money. Cool. So that's it from my side of things. You have 4 story points. Mandeville.
The Mandeville point.
You have 4 story points available to you should you desire, but you're also already at a lot of yellow.
Yeah, I don't think I'll use it.
Cool.
I think we'll hang on to that.
Great.
for more dire situation.
Fire it up.
Fuck me, man. 6 advantages, 1 failure. Unbelievable.
All right, so you go to fire up the you go to fire up the engines, and the pre-flight stuff seems to be going well. When suddenly you hear a massive rending of metal, and Acri is just like, well, shit. Listen, kid, I'm sorry to do this to you, but would seem we got some, shall we say, unwanted guests out there on the wing. I would be inclined not to call them gremlins so as not to cause a panic, but it would seem that they are using some kind of blowtorch device, which is causing us to lose fuel at an alarming rate. Could you perhaps convince some of your charming associates to go deal with this? Otherwise, we may well be boned.
Yeah. How do I? And I think just because I'm jacked in, I'll instinctually know where like the
absolutely
Vox unit is, and I'll just like flip the switch for the mic to go hot and be like, if you guys can hear me, we got some creatures on the wing. They need to be taken out before they tear this ship apart. We can't take off yet.
Quick question. Would using ranged weapons have any risks in regards to fuel lines or the ship's efficiency?
Probably. Depends on your aim, I guess.
All right, we're going to get up close. If you could just open a door and flash a light, that'd be great. And he'll just like holster his pistol, draw out the chainsword, and turn on the refractor field.
Cool. So an emergency hatch opens next to you, and you kind of get out of your crash webbing. And looking out, you can see it would seem that a couple of the Gnashers got wise. Sheila has come back and is currently using her welding torch. There's no sign of Tallman, because he's going to be an aristocrat, damn it. But Sheila seems to have been pursued by 2 leech people and 3 chaos mutants who are climbing up kind of the climbing up from under her. So she's like very quickly trying to like cut her way into the ship. You can see she's wearing like a hazmat mask, and she seems to have secured herself with some batons and is just kind of like basically suspended and welding, trying to weld her way into the side.
Great. Can I reach her?
She is about 4 meters beneath you.
Well, damn. And I think I'm just going to draw out the bolt pistol then, because I can't get to her unless there's like ropes in range or shit.
So I'm going to say that you have a number of things at your disposal within the cabin. Think of the cabin like just for the ease of our modern brains, we're going to say it's like not even first class, but like coach in a big airliner. So we're talking like 2-3-2 kind of deal. So there's a few rows of seats. You could definitely strip out some fabric if you want to try and rappel down.
Tom, do we have a snack cart I could drop on her?
Yeah, sure.
I would like to do that. I think I'll just look around and...
this is a fun system that I'm inventing right now. I will give you a snack cart for 1 story point.
Oh, done.
That's going to be our version of stress for this game, I think.
Yeah,
cool.
I think he'll look around and just be like, oh, do you know what? And I think he'll like wheel it up to the end and just say, hey, Sheila, you look a bit thirsty. And then he'll just shove the snack cart out at her.
And as the snack cart like plummets towards her, she just wonders to herself, well, I wonder if this is what aristocrats get all the time on these things. And then it just fucking decks her. So it doesn't take her completely off, but now she's dangling. She's still the blowtorch is like hanging from the tube that's attached to the backpack, but now she's dangling low, and the leech people are getting closer because they're better climbers, given that they're mostly teeth. So she is like reaching for the torch, hanging upside down. That said, back up in the cockpit, Acri is like, well, whatever you did seems to have mostly solved the problem. Got a bit of damage out there, but nothing that should stop us. We're real lucky. She almost hit the fuel line.
So is it? Can I try again?
Yep.
Is there anything I can do with 6 goddamn advantage?
You just did. I didn't have the engine explode, so you're welcome. And roll again.
All right. Well, thank you. Well, I can tell you one thing. I'm not going to turn down using a story point now. Can I get like an extra blue?
Yeah, I'll give you.
A story point?
I'll give you an extra blue. I'll also say I will give you 2 blue for your advantage from the previous bout. I don't need all of your advantage for Snack Cart Sheila.
Okay.
Just some of it.
That's more like it. 5 successes, 2 advantage.
All right.
Yes.
So the engines begin to fire up. Lyric, you see Valentyne kind of strap himself back in, looking quite satisfied. The emergency hatch kind of closes by itself behind him. And you can see out through a porthole, just in the distance now, Galen's Glory, or what's left of the dome. The massive bulk of the Fist of Gilead is sticking out of it. There's fire, smoke, and of course you know that it's a bit of a hellhole, but it's kind of your last glimpse as the rockets fire up, and suddenly the entire body of the ship begins to shake, and your sort of last look is interrupted by kind of the shaking as this thing begins to literally just like as the rockets begin to just blast. And a moment later, Galen's Glory falls out of sight as the ship begins to rocket up. You're slammed back into the crash couch. Valentyne, this is a rough fucking ride for you. Not because you've never been to space before, but this ship sucks. Like, this thing is so bad compared to every vehicle you've ever used to come in and out of orbit. Like, I suspect most of like the military grade, even things like Thunderhawks can get into atmosphere without this much, but this is built for civilians, so like, fuck it. So yeah, you're just kind of learning how the other half lives, but you do have one consolation, which is you managed to grab a ration off the cart before you dumped it. So you have a very ancient but still somewhat palatable coconut and peanut butter bar.
I honestly,
sounds so good.
No matter how much it's shaking and how dangerous it is, I think he just eats it pretty fearlessly. Because when it's stuff is this out of his hands, he's like the Emperor. It's just the Emperor's got it, and if I'm doing good, I'm alive, and if I'm doing bad, he'll kill me. So that I think is like the bulletproof core of his faith. Is anytime where he can control it, it's on him. But when it's random, it's up to the big guy.
Yep, gotcha. So you settle back, start munching on your bar, and Lyric, you actually find yourself in a weird way. It's a bit of a monkey's paw situation, but you weirdly got your wish. In your kind of deepest, darkest moments, you always imagined what it would be like to get away from the hive. Not that you'd ever like leave the life of skull cracking, because I mean that's kind of your jam, but just not being in the glory hole anymore is something that was so far outside of any hope you could possibly have had, that I think there's a sense of excitement and also loss. That said, you're haunted by the vision of Cora.
Oh, there's a lot going on right now that I am physical shaking of the ship aside, I am shook. Like, I think I'm just like, ever since Valentyne got back in, I literally like have not taken my eyes off him. I'm like just like glaring at him.
And as for you, Alto, as Acri kind of seemingly chuckles in a weird kind of metallic, like, all right, way beside you, you see the sort of yellowish skyline that you've really only seen since the dome came down, begin to give way to a sea of stars. And as the heat from the exit vector burns away, you suddenly feel yourself drift up for just a moment before the grav engines kick in. And as you kind of look at the monitors, you can see the world you'd always hoped to escape starting to disappear behind you. And then a moment later, there's a flash, and a secondary flash, and a third flash. And everything that was Galen's glory is obliterated from orbit.
This episode of the Valentyne Heresy features Ryan LaPlante at the Ryan LaPlante on Twitter as Inquisitor Lucius Valentyne, Tyler Hewitt at Tyler_Hewitt on Twitter as Alto, Laura Elizabeth at EL Hamstring on Twitter as Lyric, and our Game Master Tom McGee at McGeeTD on Twitter. This episode was edited by Ryan LaPlante, and the Valentyne Heresy's show logo was created by Decapitated Markers at Decapitated Marker on Twitter. That's MRKR. Our theme song is The Hordes by Megan McDuffie, and our ads use the tracks No Control and Chiefs by Jazzar, JAHZZAR, provided by freemusicarchive.org. When it comes to Dum-Dums and Dice, you can visit our website at dumdumdice.com. Our Twitter and Instagram are at dumdumdice, and on Facebook at facebook.com/dumdumdice. We have merchandise available at redbubble.com/people/dumdumdice, and most importantly, you can join our Patreon at patreon.com/dumdumdice. That's DUMBDICE. Ave Imperator, and death to all the heretics. Dum-Dums and Dice has to give a special thank you to the supreme beings of our Patreon at this time: Christian Menicola, Long, the Half-Blind Prophet, James Cuellar, DM Rob, Christopher Little, Olin Anderson, Sue One, Devin Boyce, George Dolby, One True Artistry, Orion Birchfield, Anthony Griffin, and Jill and Noel LaPlante. If you want your name to be added to this list, you can join our Patreon too at patreon.com/dumdumdice. Thanks to them, and a little bit of thanks to you.